So public speaking is something that we are generally referring to when talking about the present times. But it is actually something that has existed for a very long time in the past. The ancient Greece, for example, were the first ones who wrote treaties and put down the public speaking as a system. So individualizing what makes a good public speaking. Generally, they use public speaking with politics. You know that ancient Greece is considered the cradle of democracy, and they were the first one to have a public government, and where they discussed about everything, and they use public speaking all the time. This was happened 2,500 years ago, but this refers to the first written witnesses of what they were doing. Public speaking goes even before that date, so it's really an ancient practice. One of the first people who were talking about public speaking was Aristotle, a famous philosopher in Greece, who said, in making a speech one must study 3 points. First, the means of producing persuasion. Second, the language. Third, proper arrangement of the various parts of the speech. And this is actually true for almost everything, if you think about it. Not only for public speaking, even for writing, for any kind of communication, not only the speech. But they give very importance to these 3 aspects if they want to talk. And that's true. But there's more, and I'm going to see that. So what I'm going to do now is talk about a few aspects, but I will not go into details because you are going to talk about it during the course and you have a lot of time to learn more about those aspects. But again, if you have questions in the end, feel free to ask. So, why? Why do we do a public speaking? For many reasons. It might be a professional reason or it might be a private reason. So as you can see in the pictures, a professional reason can be for a job purpose, for academic purpose. Really, there's many contexts, job contexts, where you are asked to do a public speaking, or even if you're not asked to do public speaking, doing a public speaking might actually improve the results of what you're doing. So keep that in mind. And even if you do not have to go for public speaking in a professional field, you might have to do it in a private field. For example, someone's getting married. It might happen that someone proposes a toast for 2 people who are getting married. Or think about anniversaries, birthdays, or any kind of occasion that generally requires a public speaking. At least it is true in the Western society. Maybe there are cultural differences that might influence this thing, but generally public speaking happens in private life as well. And it doesn't matter if it's professional or private, a good result is generally welcomed and expected. So you might want to go for a good public speaking. So what makes a good public speaking? We have 3 main goals generally when we go for public speaking. So catch the attention of your audience, be persuasive, and be clear. So catch the attention of your audience. Your audience is there to listen to you. But just like you, I had to be sure that I have your attention. So I had to be sure that you follow what I'm saying. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I can do it, for example, by using this PowerPoint or by trying to make you laugh sometimes or with different techniques. Be persuasive because whenever you try to speak publicly, you try to convince people of what you're saying. You try to convince them that what you're saying is true. So you have to be persuasive. In fact, what you say must be also clear. And to be persuasive, you have to be clear. People must understand what you say. So you cannot say something and risk that people do not understand what you said. You have to be as much clear as possible. So that will prevent less space for interpretation, and you will be sure that you have delivered your message in a correct way. Where? Let's go to another point where, so you had to check the location. It might seem something obvious, but it's not actually. You had to check the location because it might happen and you had to hold a public speech in a place that you actually don't know anything about it. So you had to be sure that you know where you're going. And I'm not talking, of course, about the private field speech, more like the professional field public speech is what I'm focusing my attention on. And if you go to a location, any kind of location, to hold a public speech, you need to know a lot of things about it. For example, how do I get there? I need to know how do I get there so that I won't be late, so that I will arrive on time, and I will be sure that there will be nothing to hold me back. In some cultures, be punctual is really important. If you start late, you already give a bad impression to people who are listening to you. So be careful to know who you're speaking to and be aware that knowing where the location is might prevent you from being late. How big is it? So how big is the place? Do I need a microphone? Can they hear me well without it? Or do I have an echoes? Or just check the location. How big is it? What does it mean? Is it too big, too small? Is there enough for people that I want? I want too many. I want many people, so I want it bigger. No, I want less people, so I want it smaller. This might be a really important detail, as you are the speakers. So it's you who have to face the audience. So, is there already everything I need? What do I need for a public speech? Do I need a microphone? Do I need a computer? I already have my computer. I'll bring in my USB pen. Check that everything is there. Again, sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes there's only a few things that you know. And knowing that before you actually arrive there will prevent you from delaying the presentation. So be prepared, just checking that everything is there. For this, you might want to talk with a technician or someone who works there. Last question, is everything working perfectly? Because the fact that something is there is not sufficient, is not enough, it has to work. I want a computer, I want a laptop there to show my presentation, but I need it to work really well. Sometimes it happens that the cables are not really working well, so I cannot show my presentation, or if I can show it, it appears to be all yellow or blue and changes everything. So it's details, but details matters. So pay attention to that. The other question is how. How is maybe the most important question of our introduction. So how? Remember that anytime you have a public speaking, you deliver a message. And anytime you deliver a message, you use the oral language. These are really important aspects because this is what you are doing. And so what do they mean? That you are communicating something with your voice. So these are the two main aspects of public speaking. The language. Let's focus to the language. The language is really important because it's what will make your public speaking be efficient or not. So for example, if you talk to someone, to an audience, you might want to choose the correct style. What does it mean? You need to choose the style that suits the kind of public speaking that you're holding and the audience that you're in front of. The public speaking of an academic professor to their students will be different from the public speaking that, for example, a student is holding for some other students, or the public speaking that a rector in university is holding for the whole professors and students. And for example, as public speaking that someone does at work for the colleagues and the boss is different, for example, from the public speaking that the boss does to the other employers. You might want to choose the correct style. So, for example, do not use slang words that might risk that some people do not understand. Do not use, for example, the dialect. Someone might not understand dialect. And even if it's not, even if it might be obvious, sometimes it's not really easy to choose the correct words. Sometimes it's easy actually to use some words that some people actually don't understand. And you realize it later. Oh, I used that word. Why? Maybe I should have used another one. So be careful to the style. If it's possible, also use a linear structure. What does it mean? Use simple sentences. Do not make it too complex. You are speaking, you're not delivering a writing message. So people do not have the chance to read it again and again and again. Your voice is listened only once. So the simpler your words are, the more effective they are. So it's easier for people to remember what you say. And again, last tip, do not read. Please do not read. If people wanted to read something, they would go to a library. They wouldn't be standing there to listen to you. It's fine to have something on the PowerPoint, something on the display, anything, but keep spending the whole time on the presentation reading what you just wrote will lead nowhere. The attention will go down immediately. They will never listen to you, never. Just because you're not engaging, because it's not interesting. You are just reading, so it feels like you're saying nothing new. So there's no point. So keep calm and do not read. It will lead nowhere for you and for your audience. Still with how, you might want to focus your attention on body language. Language, the voice, is not actually the only thing you use. You also use body language. And body language really is important. You might have noticed that I'm using my hands right now. You might have seen them appear on the screen just like randomly. So body language is important just because it tells a lot about you. If you look at the pictures, the one on the left, the man with the glasses and blue shirts with crossed arms, tells you something different from the man on the right who has the open arms. If you cross your arms like this, imagine I'm talking like this all the time, I would put a distance between me and you. It would be actually really hard for you to follow. It would seem like I want to put some kind of wall between me and you. And that's bad for public speaking. Remember that sometimes people also like to speak behind a podium. And that might be okay, but remember that people do not see you. People only see your face. So either you're really good at communicating with your face, or you might want actually to walk or be closer or do something that engage your audience. So make them feel like they're participating. So try to be closer to them. Body language really, really helps. Remember that when we speak, a high percentage of our message is delivered by body language. Always, even when you speak to a friend. So body language is important, it's part of our everyday life. Do not underestimate it. It tells a lot about you. It also can tell people if you're nervous, if you do not feel at ease. And remember that if you want the audience to feel at ease, you must be the first one to be comfortable with that. So show it. Do not be afraid. Just be at ease, stay calm, breathe. Remember to breathe, of course, and don't worry about it. Just show what you feel. If you're nervous, try to control it. Body language really matters. So you might want to practice to control it. Still we have one thing that can be useful for you to achieve all the goals that we have talked about before is planning. Planning is really useful. Remember that you have to deliver a certain content in a limited amount of time, and you also have to engage with your audience, as we have said. So planning might be the key to make your public speaking successful. Practice is important, especially for timing. Timing is really important. Actually, in all public speaking that I have seen, no one, and I said no one, has ever been on time. Generally, it's always delayed because it's really hard to plan the time. But practice will allow you to not only to stay in time, but to be prepared to face something that you haven't planned. So planning, have a list of things to say, when to say, or try to practice and have an alarm clock with you and try to see how long it takes to deliver your message might be really important. So consider planning. Do not go there without any plan. Just make a list, use anything you want to make your plan efficient. Planning is personal. So there's not actually one technique, there are many. Choose the one that suits you the most, the one you like the most. How? Recipient. So anytime you deliver a message, every time there is communication, there is a sender and the recipient, the one who receives the message. This is really important. Remember that the person you have in front of you, actually the people you have in front of you, are different from each other and might be different from you. They might have a cultural background that is different from yours. Imagine like me talking to you. We come from different cultures. Or individual background. Each one of you has an individual background that makes you different and makes you perceive what I say in a different way. There are people who actually feel more comfortable if I speak and show the PowerPoint like I'm doing. There are people who only want to listen because PowerPoint distracts them, so they don't want any written words to see seen. There are people who might expect a joke in the beginning of the presentation because it's cultural, so they expect the speaker to go on with a joke. But there are some people actually who do not even care about it. Some people might even find it annoying. They're not there to hear a joke. They are there to hear something else. So they might not actually accept it. So consider that the cultural background especially is really important. And so is the individual background. So I might speak in a different way to you than I'm speaking, for example, to my colleagues, because I'm telling something different. So even the content is based also on cultural individual background. Use of technology. So remember that when you go for public speaking, you're not alone. Technology is with you and will take you anywhere you want. It's really big help. So if you want to use technology, you can use slides, PowerPoint presentation, videos, pictures, audios, anything you want. For example, now we are on Blink Blue Button and public speaking is delivered online. So it's something actually quite recent, quite modern. It didn't happen in the past. It didn't happen 10 years ago. Or if it happened really rarely. But this is a great opportunity, the use of technology. So use it. Use it a lot. It is important. Also consider that nowadays we are more exposed to digital input. We are more keen to reading on a screen, a computer screen, than a book. Even books are read on a screen by the famous e-readers or something. So we use technology every day, and sometimes we feel even more comfortable if you have technology. Technology will also allow you to compensate what is missing. For example, if you have a big audience in a big room, technology might allow you to be heard and seen from the whole audience. It's really actually annoying sometimes when someone speaks and you can't even see their faces. It's more challenging, it's more engaging if you can see the face of who's speaking. But a big room, it's quite impossible to do that with everyone. That's why we have technology. So this is just an example. Technology really, really helps. It matters. So use it. It's important. Still with how, you might want to consider the feedback. So with feedback, I mean the reaction of the audience. The audience will constantly give you feedback. If something happens like in the picture that you are speaking and you are really into it, but people around you are sleeping or tired or not listening, maybe you are doing something wrong. Or maybe they are not really highly motivated. But, let's say the guilt is 50-50. Or maybe you might want to see what you've done wrong. Maybe you want to reconsider your presentation and change something. So just pay attention to how the audience respond. Check on it. It's really important. It will help you develop as a public speaker, and it might help you save the public speaking that you're doing in that moment by changing something. And in the end, this whole presentation is to tell you that when you have a public speaking, the context is important. So everything we have said leads to the context. You do not speak for yourself, you speak for someone, and that someone is important. You do not speak in an empty place, you speak in a specific place that has some features, specific features, and it's important to consider them. You do not speak, for example, for any occasion. You speak for one particular occasion, and that's important. So the context is really important to consider to hold your public speaking. So do not just plan a public speaking just to have a public speaking. Be sure that you analyze the context and be prepared to anything that might happen. So I want to conclude this brief presentation with a quote from Dale Carnegie, that was a really famous American writer and lecturer who has studied a lot public speaking and has published a lot of books. So if you feel nervous, because nervous is really, really big deal for someone who goes for public speaking, he said, look at your audience straight in the eyes and begin to talk as if every one of them owed you money. So if you feel nervous, do not worry. There's nothing that cannot be overcome. So if you feel nervous, just relax. Remember, they are all human beings like you, and it will be okay. And if you really doesn't help, just follow the Carnegie example and think that they owe you money. So it might be easier for you to hold your speaking in public. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. I hope I was into time because I only had a few time for delivering to introduction. So, Miss May, just let me know if you want to proceed question and answer or if you want me to do something else. Okay. Hello. Yes, it's clear. Thank you. I hope you liked it. Okay. I can't see him. Oh, okay. Now I can. Hello. Mm-hmm. Nice to meet you.
Ask about how to where do we do the speaking and how to overcome the nervousness when speaking.
Okay. Okay. Do I speak on the phone or can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Did anyone hear the question? Okay, so you were asking how can we deal with the nervousness when you're nervous and you cannot hold the public speaking. Is that right? Okay, so this is something really personal actually. There's not only one way, there are many. You need to find a way that suits you better. One thing that you might want to do is think that you are not special and the audience is not special. You're all the same. So you are speaking because you have something to say and they are there because they want to listen. So no one will force them with pointing a gun at their head telling no you have to listen that. So they are there for a reason. They are interested. So be aware of that and be aware that you can be there and be comfortable with that. Hmm? So even the Dalai Lama, in one of his speech, was saying, "When I have a speak in public, I do not think that I'm special. I think we're all human beings, and when I think that, my mind is relaxed and calm. If I happen to think that it's not true, then I feel anxious because I have more expectations. So just be at ease, think that you are just there to deliver a message that people are actually interested in listening. And practice, practice will really help you overcome the nervousness. If you practice, you know what you're facing. If something is not correct, you already know before you deliver the speech. So you can correct it, you can do something about it. So, yeah, there are many things that you can do to overcome your nervousness. But what I can tell you is do not worry too much about it. Just plunge in it. Everything will go okay. The first minute you will be nervous, but after that you will be at ease. You're welcome. Okay. No, we can make two, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Gak mau, kenapa? Nice to meet you. Okay. What do you mean by the structure of English speech? Okay, I think I don't understand the question. What do you exactly want to know? The type of... Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, that's not easy to answer this question. No, there's I mean, as I have told you, there are many, many, many kinds of speech, and each one of those is defined by the context. The context defines the kind of speech that you are delivering. So there's actually no way actually to tell how many kinds of speech there are. There are many ways to classify and categorize speech. For example, the one that I had told you is uh, public, private, and professional. So the purpose, the field, the context in which you are define the kinds of speech. And there are some, also, there are people who define academic speech, job speech, and that's really another difference. So there's not actually one kind of speech. There are many speech, and each one can be organized in a different way. When you were asking about the structure of English speech, we can find one, but actually each kind of speech has its peculiarities. So it's different from another speech. So I mean, I would like to tell you about all the kinds of speeches, but it will take a long time, and I'm fear that I do not have enough. But consider that there are really, really many kinds of speeches and different ways to recognize them, different ways of measuring what makes a speech different from another one. Sama-sama. Yes? Okay. Thank you for having me. Good. Glad you liked it. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Okay. I beg your pardon, I didn't hear you. Yes. In 15 minutes. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, really. Okay. So thank you very much and good luck with your public speech. Semangat. Thank you, May. Bye, everyone.